Here we go. Hello, everyone. It's Dr. Charlotte Blair, and I'm so pleased and so thankful to have Miss Tamika Moseley on board for this interview. Tamika and I, we have a long history of working together with Sickle Cell, and especially with her son Aiden, and I call him my nephew. But Tamika has been with around from the beginning of Even Flow and Healing Blends Global and things of that sort. She is now actually started to take herself off and actually start to really do a lot of things with other clients and on personal levels and things like that. The purpose of this interview really is just to reconnect, really, because Tamika and I, we wrote a book. How long was that? 5 years ago, 6 years ago, we wrote a book together. It's been a while.
2013.
Oh my gosh, 7 years ago we wrote that book. Oh my gosh, I'm getting old. So we wrote a book together. It was her project. I contributed to it. So she was allowed me to be on her project. It's a beautiful project. And now she's actually have written another book, and we want to discuss the book and also some of the things that she's been doing over the last 7 years, I guess, in this community. So Tamika, what's been going on with you?
Thank you. There's been so much. Oh my gosh. Since moving to Seattle.
Wow.
Things have just really taken off, but the one thing that I can say is my son, still no crises. But
I think that's a beautiful thing.
And that's all thanks to you with the Even Flow. I'm always going to talk about Even Flow for the rest of my life. But no, that really, really changed my life, sons. I mean, changed his life tremendously in ways that, we can never even imagine. So I'm always grateful for, you introducing me to Even Flow.
My pleasure. But beyond Even Flow, I know you're doing like special diets and things of that sort. So speak about the diets that you're also doing with yourself and also especially your family as well.
Yeah, so it's pretty much the same thing. We just don't eat, or we just don't buy a lot of processed foods anymore. Like before, we used to buy the 100% wheat. And a lot of times, we get so confused. Like my mom has 100% wheat, and she doesn't understand that that's not the right type of bread.
Yeah.
So over the years, just learning through, the things we really should be eating and what should not. So we both basically on foods that has energy, food that has life, leafy green vegetables, foods that are fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, legumes, healthy fats, avocado, coconut oil, grapeseed oil. And we do eat meat, every now and then, but what we do is make sure no nitrates, no nitrites, no antibiotics, no MSG. When we eat fish, we make sure that it's wild caught. So just really training my kids because, Mariah's in middle school now, so she's with the kids who's eating all the junk. And so she's being exposed to all this. And I have to remind her, this is not the best things for you to be eating. So, it's just all of that. But yeah, so a lot of my clients, they deal with a lot of health issues, of course, but just educating on the proper diet, proper nutrition, because that's really where it starts. Yeah. Everything we're putting inside of our bodies, you got to make sure we put the things inside the body that is healing for the body. And a lot of this junk and potato chips and Doritos and all this stuff is just not good for our bodies and ends up getting in, making us more sick.
Yeah, definitely. I'm gonna throw Tamika under the bus for a quick second. I recall when she was still in Texas. Oh my gosh, it's a great conversation early on. Because I've been vegan or vegetarian for the last, let's say, 30 plus years. And I recall having a conversation with Tamika. She was, going to get some food for her family. And I was like, what? What are you doing? Remember this conversation? You were in the car, and she was like, it's nothing wrong with eating. It was some chicken or something like that. I'm like, do you understand?
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
It's about,
you know what it was?
What was it?
Subway. I was going to Subway every day.
Yes.
And I'm like, you were like, okay.
Yeah.
And I didn't get it, but now it's like, okay, the bread is full of aluminum and toxins. The meat is full of nitrates and nitrites. The vegetables are just sprayed down with pesticides and herbicides. So it's like, you're just eating trash.
Yeah. The funny thing with it is like I said, I've been on this journey for a long time. So getting people to slowly understand the importance of having nutritional dense food in their body, it's hard. You know, like I said,
Yeah.
Tamika and I, we know each other for like probably 10 years now. And it's
Yes.
taken her a long time to even get to this point. And I'm loving it. But when she jumped on it, she jumped on it and rode the wheels, for a long time. But the importance of this, because I'm also writing a book myself about nutrigenomics and how the importance of these bioactive nutrients are actually talking to our genes. And in saying that, it's like everything that I tell patients, in any of my lectures, I'm like, hey guys, I don't care what it is, it all starts with your diet. And the importance of diet is because of the fact, as you said, that the healthy fast is what's really getting rid of all the inflammation inside the body. And all the bioactive nutrients, they're all located in your herbs, your spices, your leafy greens, and things of that sort. That's what's really causing your genes to do certain aspects that you want to do. Or if you're not having a nutrient dense foods inside your body on a daily basis, that's what's causing a lot of this inflammation, and thus these crises or other health issues individuals are dealing with.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I just went home to pick my mom up because she flew back to Seattle with me.
Mhm.
And she is walking like she is in so much pain. I mean, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
And I mean, in a matter of 3 hours, Dr. Ware,
Mhm.
she's walking normal.
Yeah.
And even Flo was in that regimen. But I'm just saying, I'm like, Mom, don't claim that. We want to say, oh, well, she's 83. We're getting old. So I guess my joints. I'm like, no, you put the right stuff in your body, you will start walking right. And she is today. I mean, she was so blown away. She said, Tamika, I'm walking normal. I
Yeah.
said, I know.
Exactly. And part of that is the fact that, what we have learned, through this whole process is when you're feeding your body like, let's say fake food or processed food, what's happening
Yeah.
is the body's not able to process all that stuff. And what the nutrients are doing, well, the lack of nutrients is actually either pulling all the nutrients out of your bones, out of your organelle systems, and also out of your blood. And you don't have enough to actually defend enough of that inflammation off of your body. So your body actually lands it all inside the joints. So the joints start to get inflamed. Then the arthritis sits in, or I call it pseudo arthritis, because as your mom just saw, within like hours or a day, you start eating the right things. You're like, wait a minute, my joints aren't as stiff as they were because the inflammation
Yes.
is easy to be relieved. The body knows what it wants. Is more so our minds. It's like it's so embedded into wanting to eat certain things. And the thing that I tell a lot of
Right.
sickle cell moms, I said, listen, everybody want their child to be, I'm gonna say, normal, but the normal American diet is what's really killing everyone. So if you want your kid to be normal,
Yeah.
they're gonna have a higher risk of being in pain crisis, having blood transfusion, all these other things. If you want your child to be abnormal, meaning like you don't want what's normally out there, you want them to have more of a natural diet. And myself and a bunch of other physicians, like we started to get together and really discuss, hey, what's a normal diet for individuals. And there isn't really a normal diet for a overall individuals. It's about really eating plain food, proteins, fats, fruits, veggies, and just keep it right there. Once you start doing those basic things, the body will just do amazing things. Look at Aiden. Aiden is like a list of probably 100 or 1,000 patients of mine that I have that can tell you, hey, look, yes, I may go into a little crisis here and there, but overall, I'm like rock solid. I'm not going to the hospital. I can fly on planes. I can go
No,
swim. I can
he
do.
has had not had any crisis.
There you go. There you go. You know, and that's so the thing
Yeah,
is,
10 years.
yeah,
10 years.
it can definitely happen if but what it is a daily grind. And Tamika is one of the ones that's willing to put in the work because she sees the other side of it. Even
Exactly.
and actually, Tamika, I want you to actually tell your story about not even understanding like your trait. Because I'll tell the story. Tamika, almost bled out during pregnancy, like giving birth, because she actually went into a crisis
Almost
while she was
died.
giving birth, and no one understood these things can actually happen. Even myself, if I'm fly too much or whatever, I'll urinate blood sometimes. It's not like, oh, something's wrong with me. Is it part of having sickle cell? That people don't understand the hydration, the nutrition, all these other things. Well, I'm sorry, I did it before I knew, wait a minute, what's going on with my body? I got to make sure I have all these nutrient dense foods in my body. And yes, add even flow and some other things onto my regimen to make sure that when I fly, I have a beautiful flight. I have to fly, several times this month, and also next month I'll be flying a whole lot. But I already know what to do now. It's about educating yourself and want to be in a better place, not just now, but also in the future as well. Because me personally, I'm about longevity. Not saying that, oh, well, the average person lives in their 40s, maybe 50s. I'm looking at 100. I'm looking at 120
Yes.
type thing. And we can do
Yes.
this. It's so much science out there that
Yes.
says that just by eating perfectly or towards your genes, you can live to be 150. I can show you so many different animal
We just
models about that. Go ahead.
we just had this conversation.
Yeah.
We just had this conversation because, it's like we put the right stuff in our bodies,
Yes.
then we will be okay. But there's so many herbs. There's herbs to clean and cleanse the brain.
Oh my
There's
God.
herbs to kill, reverse cancer cells. I
Yes.
mean, there's so many herbs that can just make us whole again.
Exactly.
And you're right. So just take my mom when she was in her 60s on metformin and high blood pressure medication.
Yeah.
She was not at her healthiest. But
No.
now she's 83 on nothing but herbs, minerals, and vitamins, and she has no issues, none.
Yeah.
And so we see people who are like 101, 105.
Yeah.
So just think, if they were eating the good food, putting the herbs in their body, we could live to be 120.
Exactly. Easily.
We really could,
Yeah. Easily. Easily. You know,
easily.
and the thing with it, I want to chime in and say it doesn't matter what you're born with. It doesn't matter if you've had sickle cell disease, or thalassemia, or whatever it is. Because if you eat appropriately, those genes aren't going to express themselves. We've been able to prove this in so many different animal models. It was one animal model that was, with diabetes. And it actually showed that, again, given the right bioactive nutrients inside the system, these animal models actually live to be 50% longer than the normal individuals. It was like, wait a minute, but they were diagnosed with
Wow.
diabetes. And even in human models, we've been able to show that people who actually eat the proper things, even if they were diagnosed with diabetes, hypertension, cardiovascular disease, whatever it is, they had a perfect normal life, excuse me. It's actually a gene called the ApoE gene. ApoE gene is like one of the genes that if you have a certain variant of it, you're like 80% sure to have Alzheimer's disease. And
Hmm.
we've been able to actually reverse that in many people. Say, hey, look, if you eat the proper fats, if you eat the proper, amounts of sugars and things of that sort, your
Yep.
Alzheimer's doesn't even crop up. I have one of my good mentors. She's at high risk for this, but she is a colonel in the Air Force when she's retired, and now she's a CEO of a genetic company. So is she breaking down in
Wow.
age? No, she's not. She's actually excelling. As she gets older, she's getting smarter, faster, and everything else. But it goes back down to the
Yep.
diet. So
It's
for me,
awesome.
when I hear stuff about people in the sickle cell community not just doing a bare minimum but eating properly, I'm like the way to be abnormal in the sickle cell community, you got to eat the proper things, not what everyone else is doing. I mean, I'll give you another stat. The rate of kids, this is just normal kids, having like high cholesterol between the ages of 7 and 12 has more than 600% shot up over the last 20 years.
Wow. I did not know that.
Yes.
Cholesterol in
Kids having
kids,
yes, kids having
and we see
cholesterol
it's
issues.
food,
It's
bad
one of those
foods.
things. Yeah, I can recall a really good friend of mine years ago when I had my older two kids. So it's maybe like around 12 years ago. You know, we had a conversation. She was like, oh, I'm having a birthday party at McDonald's. I said, well, I'll give your child a present, but I won't show up. She's like, why? I'm like, we don't eat stuff like that. What do you mean? It's like a rite of passage for a kid to have McDonald's. I'm like, no, it's not. I'm sorry. I'm like, if there's not any nutrients in the food, I don't try to give it to my kid. Sorry. If I go to a birthday party, I'm that parent that brings our own slices of cake and our own stuff. And to be honest with you, a lot of people, like a lot of our friends, my kids' family now, know how we eat. So even the
Yeah.
quote unquote candy, it'll be dark chocolate and stuff like that. They're like, okay, well, this is for them. But again, I'm not trying to be different. I'm not trying to be like, okay,
I
I'm
know. I
different
know.
than you guys. It is really about the fact that I know one myself, I can't eat that way. My oldest daughter actually has sickle cell traits. We got her tested. I got retested, and now I know I have sickle cell beta thalassemia. That's why I was having crisis when I was younger. and it's all these things. I have my youngest son. He has a genetic variance where we have to make sure that he detoxes his body. He doesn't really detox very, very well. So why would I fill
Yeah,
his body with junk and he can't really detox it? So I've done all these tests.
exactly.
So I'm like, I want to make sure that my kids have the best opportunities that they can. I know the same thing for you as well.
Right. Exactly. And that's the thing is, just kind of teaching the kids, my kids is, well, the good thing, Aiden has never liked sweets. He was a kid, never liked cakes. So I didn't have to worry about that with him at all. But
Yeah.
now that rotten is a different story. But but Aiden never wanted it at all. I mean, he was a very picky eater. But
Mhm.
one thing I can say is when you mentioned, you go into a crisis, you have a crisis. Now, in the beginning, he did have crises, like we were 3 years on even flow, 4, 5 years. He
Mhm.
would have like small crises when I really didn't understand what to do. Like he would go hiking and it was cold outside and I really didn't have, give it every hour, every 30 minutes, or.
Yeah.
So he did have them every now and then, but like once you get it down and you understand what to do,
Yeah.
it's all I can say is just amazing. I hope I can say this. I hope I can say this, but I'm just telling the truth. I can't do anything but tell the truth.
Yeah.
Since we've been in Seattle, Aiden has not taken even flow in 2 years.
Mm.
And so there was a study that I saw in Taiwan 3 years ago that shows that herbs have the power to change your DNA. And so all I can say is that's what's happening to him right now. I don't have any studies, I don't have any all this, but what I can tell you is what my son is doing today.
Yeah.
And today, um, he he he, Dr. Ware, I can't, I don't understand it, but this kid is like he don't even have sickle cell. He
Yeah.
lives a full life. He plays sports. He goes, and I mean, nothing, just nothing. But
Yeah.
now I do like we went to like one of his friends' houses at the lake, and he was jumping in the water and all that. So that day I did give him like 3 even flows spread out. I will do that,
Yeah.
but like for the whole 2 years, nothing.
Yeah.
So this is phenomenal. This is amazing. This is amazing for me because it's like, wow,
Definitely.
God.
Exactly.
This is God's medicine cabinet.
Exactly.
People say this Dr. West, this no, but it's God's medicine cabinet he's using. He didn't create it.
Exactly, exactly. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, even on on all our products, we have a Bible verse, Ezekiel 47:12.
Yeah,
And I believe that God has given us the leaves for our medicine and the fruit for
that's
our food.
right.
And that's why I put that there. So thank you for saying that. And yes, even in our clinical trial, and this was done several years ago, we were still trying to get it published. First, this whole COVID things got pushed back, but we were in a revision stage because we got the initial report back, and they want some revisions. Of course, is always going to happen. So I was working
Hmm.
with the team last night. But even in this report, and to me, can tell you, almost every time we've done a clinical trial, the doctors contact us like, "What is this? Like, is this medicine? Like, what's in here?" Like, no, this is just it's herbs and things that is put together in a certain way that we know is
Yeah,
maximizing the actual benefits. And it's the same thing that was happening with this right here. People are like, "Wait a minute, like." These numbers are a little higher than we anticipated. I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, well, like none of your people in your trial actually had a crisis. Like, meaning like the ones who actually took it. Like, once they actually broke the double blind, they're like, it
yeah,
was, they said within the first month, we did a 6-month study. Within the first month, you can see it was a difference between the ones who actually had the control and the ones who actually had the actual even flow itself. They're like it was amazing,
right.
and I was like, well, that's just in line with all the other studies we've always done. It's not something
Exactly.
that it's not anything that we change up. I've had the same formula for the last 10 plus years, actually over 10 years now, that I've been even giving myself or my patients, and it's one of those things where I say once you start to understand the biomedical, bioenergetic components of all these herbs and how they work in unison with the body. Because what we learn from genetics is, we've been using herbs for 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 years. It's been
Right.
part of our cooking, been part of our culture, been part of our healing for so many years. These synthetic drugs, and again, I'm not knocking synthetic drugs. I'm just giving you the information. For the last,
Right.
I say, 100, maybe 110 years, they've been making, synthetic drugs. It has no genetic superiority. Herbs, spices, they have genetic superiority. When we can go back in certain texts and say, hey, look, in this text 2,000 years ago, they were writing about ginger. They were writing about, dongui. They were writing about all these things 2,000 plus years ago,
Yeah.
and we know that it's still the same thing. It still works today. And now with the help of like CRISPR and all these other, genetic like tools that's been able to break down all the genes of all the herbs and everything else, we see how beautiful these things work in conjunction with the body. So yes, there is an overall healing that can happen if you actually do all the proper things. So yeah.
Right. And see that, and that's the thing you mentioned, synthetic drugs. One thing that people fail to realize is when you are taking these synthetic drugs, they actually deplete certain vitamins and minerals out of the body.
Yeah.
And so it's like God told us to put that in the body, but yet we're taking something that's pulling it out of the body. So,
Mhm.
for example, like metformin pulls all the B12 out of the body.
Yeah.
Like the blood thinners, it pulls coenzyme Q10 out, it pulls magnesium out.
Mhm.
So we got to think about that,
Mhm.
right? It's like,
Yeah.
may not be the best choice, taking things out that we actually need.
Mhm.
So that's another, another thing that people don't really understand as well. And switching over, when you're trying to acclimate your body, because like there's a young kid, Elijah, in the UK,
Mhm.
who is, look up to Aiden so much, and I just love Elijah.
Mhm.
But that kid went through a horrible time in the hospital like every month. I mean, his parents didn't even know if he was going to make it. It was so bad.
Yeah.
But once he started doing the even flow, again, you got to get acclimated to it because it's not just going to be like, oh, okay, it's perfect now, no more crises.
Yeah.
But his body had to go through that. It was up and down for a couple of months, but he's made it now. No more crises. And
Mhm.
so just getting people to understand that when you start taking it, don't expect a miracle the first day. You got to go through because you've been putting all this other stuff in your body for so many years,
Mhm.
and your body just has to get acclimated. Maybe you can talk more about that,
Yeah.
but just letting people know that it's not a quick fix in the beginning. Now, for some, it is because I've talked to some people who's taking
Oh,
it for the first time,
oh yeah.
no more crises.
Oh yeah.
But there's been other people on all this medication. When they start taking it, they have to get adjusted in a couple of months, but then they'll finally get it, and then okay, no more crises.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, and part of that is the one reason why we've created so many videos. We've created like, our like customer service where if you are able to even just reach out to us, and that's also a way Tamika has started, built her clientele, was really because there were so many questions coming in and constantly on how, and it was like we need someone to actually help answer these questions. It was like, hey, look, answer these questions for us, type thing, with these people. And now we of course have our customer service people here. Now we have different, like I say, in every packet, you'll get an instruction card on how to take it if you're in a crisis and a maintenance phase and all these other things. But part of that, yes, is like having to go through, as we call it, the classical detoxification in
Yeah.
introduction phase type thing. It's gonna be different from everyone. Like Tamika said, I've heard from people that say, hey, look, in the first week I've taken this, I have not had any more crisis, so I take it all the time. Or I had some people that say, "Hey, look, it's taken me, 2, 3 bottles before I actually was able to really
Mm-hmm.
get into a rhythm." And it's gonna vary, but I tell everyone, don't
Yeah.
give up. We have some people who they'll take it for a little bit and then they'll stop, and next thing you know, we'll see them start to order again. Like, what? Okay, what happened? Well, I was taking it, I was feeling better, and then I started doing my old thing, and then I had to sort of redo everything. I said, exactly, it's a lifestyle modification that you also
Exactly.
do. And we also take you through that as well. It's one reason why we do have like, our HBG restoration diet. That's a free download. You can actually, we have a Sickle Cell toolkit you can actually download as
Mm-hmm.
well that has videos, that has, PDFs you can print off, diets, all these things that help you along the way. We're not here, again, this is not about selling you a product. This is about the entire journey that a typical parent will go through with sickle cell disease.
Right.
I have conferences, like telehealth calls almost every day with a sickle cell parent from all over the world.
Mm.
And the same thing, I just repeat the same thing over and over again. One, of course, I have compassion for that individual. I'm like, listen, let's clean these certain things up, and then let's introduce certain things back inside the body. You know, people always ask me, well, you know, why can't I just take chlorophyll? I'm like, chlorophyll is beautiful. I love chlorophyll. It's like the closest thing into nature to our hemoglobin. However, there are certain components that are missing inside of it that you need for as a
Yes.
sickle cell person, and that's one reason why the even flow was combined with the chlorophyll as well. So it's about understanding what the body is going to typically go through, as well as, you know, some people think that just by having a higher hemoglobin is going to be perfect. I've had patients, you know,
Right.
especially after they've been on the even flow for a while, they go out and they travel, whatever, come back with a hemoglobin of a 10, but they'll go into a crisis and they'll go to the hospital. You can't be in a crisis. You're a hemoglobin level 10. I'm in a crisis. I'm in a crisis. It's one
I
of those things that,
know.
you know, I mean, it's one of those things that, you know, even subjectively, we don't have to even know how to qualify what a crisis is. And the other thing is,
Right.
I've had individuals who hemoglobin who's just almost was just starting to drop all of a sudden. And I say, hey, look, you have some sort of infection. They're like, no, I don't have a cold, flu, whatever. I'm like, well, it's a other type of infection. It may be a UTI. It may be a yeast
Right.
infection inside women. In men, it can be like just a latent infection, that it can be a tooth infection. There's no
Yeah.
reason your hemoglobin just drop down automatically. Actually, I did a video on that
Exactly.
as well, but it's different ways to just start to really check your body. You know, how can I actually keep, you know, improving not just my hemoglobin, but the quality of the red blood cells that's being produced. And that's the purpose of actually, you know, creating products that's going to allow the body to do what it's supposed to do naturally reduce down the retic count, naturally reduce down the inflammation, naturally reduce down the frequency that the red blood cell is actually dying off. You know, and that's the
Right.
main thing, is actually, you know, elongating the life of that red blood cell as well.
Exactly. You know, it's interesting that you mentioned someone said, why can't I just take chlorophyll? So I actually did that. I actually but so before I even met you, I started eating on chlorophyll because that's the only thing that I found at the time. And so I gave him chlorophyll every single day.
Mhm.
But then, like, so his track record, he would go into a crisis like every 2 months. So I would say this time he went about 7 months,
Mhm.
no crises. So I was super excited. But then the eighth month came, he was in a crisis again. And that's when I realized chlorophyll may not be enough. So I mean it's good, but you know, like you say, a lot of times when you're such in a chronic state, you're
Mhm.
just gonna need a little bit more than just, you know, one single thing. But that kind of brought back memories when I just gave him chlorophyll and it's just not enough. So
Exactly. So, so,
definitely.
so before we keep going on about even flow, but I want to discuss your latest book, because honestly,
Oh,
we had discussed this book, and completely forgot it was coming out. So I was like, oh my gosh! So
oh,
discuss your new book. Come on.
okay. So I guess a year and a half ago, I met this wonderful lady, and her name is Laverne Hall. So she asked me, do you want to actually come to the Washington House and do a 30-day writers in residence program and write your next book? And I was thinking to myself, a next book, what would that be about? Oh my gosh. And so I just thought to myself, okay, well, you know what? All the things that I've been telling people, experiencing, researching, what's working, I just said, let me just put together an alternative of everyday aches and pains. You know, it's just something simple that I didn't have to think too hard about.
Yeah.
So pretty much that's what it is. It's just healing from God's medicine cabinet.
Mm,
And it uncovers, well, I do talk about some unforeseen truths about our health. I
mhm.
probably can't say that here, but basically it's just alternatives to everyday elements, aches and pain, where we don't have to just go out and get Tylenol and Pepto-Bismol but you know, to know, oh, if we got a stomach ache, we'll just probably take a probiotic and maybe some ginger, you know,
Mm.
because
Yeah.
we run to the doctor, or not. I mean, we just go to the store and get over the counter medicine, Aleve, Tylenol, without even thinking about it, you know. And so, just trying to get people to think before running out and getting something synthetic. Let's just go to God's medicine cabinet, and we can start healing ourselves at home. You know, when we get these elements that come up, headaches or earaches or stomach ache, you know, things such of that. But there's a whole list of elements that I actually list out in here.
Yeah.
And one thing I did find out, my son, he asked me an innocent question because we go to school. Well, he go to school. My 9-year-old, he asked me one day, "Well, Mom, I have Asian friends in my class. They're my friends, but why are they so much smarter than me?"
Oh, boy.
And so, I've been doing research, and I found that kids who take iodine when they're during pregnancy, well, when mothers consume iodine during pregnancy,
Yeah.
the kids have a very high IQ
Yeah.
when they're born. And I said, well, Rodney, the Asian moms, they have a diet high of iodine because they eat the kelp, they eat the seaweed. But
Exactly.
in our culture, we don't do that.
Yeah.
So now we can start educating people on when you get pregnant, take iodine.
Yeah, I'll give you a backdrop with that as well, especially with like the brain size. There's a lot of
Yes.
and the research just came out that said that the brain size of individuals who lived along the shorelines versus the plains were vastly different because the marine life gave you different types of bionutrients, bioactive nutrients that actually change the brain, also DNA. So when you say that, they were smarter, yes, I mean, that's a huge component of it, as well as the fact that although we do get a lot of our stuff out of Asian countries that we may consume or use or wear, a lot of their diets is still, plant-based or just nutrient-dense foods. A lot of the seafood, a lot of the veggies and things like that. So a lot of the oils that they naturally have. So they're going to have a better ratio of omega-3s and omega-6s in the body versus someone, from I say more of a European type country or now even America. Because
Yeah.
the ratio of saturated fats in the American diet is like around 85 to 90% versus in Asia is around like 10 to 15%.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, and we have to start with our kids because it's like if we
Mhm.
don't start with the kids, nothing will ever change. They'll just grow up, following the same footsteps, eating the same stuff the parents ate, and they're gonna start getting pre-diabetes,
Yeah,
hypertension, just living the same cycle over and over again.
yeah,
And that's why I have a contract with the Seattle schools. And where I go into the schools and educate the parents, teachers, and students about proper nutrition.
mhm,
They always want to say nutrition, but I have to add in and essential minerals and vitamins
yes,
because I think it's just so crucial because the kids today, they're just eating the foods at the school is just horrible. I mean, they're drinking the wrong milk, they're
mhm,
eating nothing but carbohydrates. The kids are just losing focus all over the place. They can't sit still, they can't focus, they can't concentrate.
mhm,
So I'm super excited about that because now I have a chance to actually go in and do more than just, okay, eat this food here.
yeah,
It's just, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like I say, food is important, but now that we have these supplements, you have the green juice, you have the Healing Blends green juice. That'll be something these kids can incorporate into their lives. At least, they'll be getting nutrients and minerals and amino acids
yeah,
versus drinking Gatorade Hawaiian Punch.
yeah,
So I'm going to be doing a lot of this with these parents, and they're super excited. They're excited.
mhm,
And it's never been done before. And
yeah,
now all the programs is really, one and the same thing, which is really, really, great because we can spread this knowledge. And we need to be spreading this knowledge because we have to make a change because if we don't do it, who else is going to do it?
exactly. I mean, I've been a big component of definitely feeding kids the proper diet because again, I've seen parents eating the steak and potatoes and broccoli and all that other stuff, and then they'll feed their kids macaroni and cheese for a dinner. I'm
Yeah.
like, I can't do that. But just looking at a lot of the classic foods that we as Americans feed our kids, they're all high fructose corn syrup. Now we know that
Yeah.
high fructose corn syrup does something to the brain. And this may surprise a lot of people, but high fructose corn syrup has been shown to actually decrease the rate of brain functioning by up to 45% for up to 3 hours. So imagine you feed your child a Pop-Tart for breakfast, thinking that, okay, they have spleen in their belly, send them off to school. So for the next 3 hours, that child cannot focus efficiently because the brain is not working because of the
Oh,
high fructose
okay.
corn syrup inside there. And then they go ahead and go and have lunch. We know that these lunches are not, nutrient dense. They're just, enough just to get the actual kid by.
Right.
And then for another 3 hours, so for 6 hours, your child cannot even function efficiently because they don't have the brain power because of what they're eating. And these are so many
Exactly.
different studies that show that. And then using the hydrogenated oils, it does the same thing, but it does it more so inside of the actual gut and also inside the veins and arteries. It causes microinflammation inside the veins and arteries. For a sickle cell patient, forget about it. You're just asking for a sickle cell crisis. So in normal kids, again, that's one reason why these kids have the early onset of cholesterol. That's one reason why these kids have, like all these, like, hormonal issues because of the fact that the nutrients aren't even able to be absorbed because their veins and arteries are already inflamed. So the exchange of different nutrients just won't happen. So for a sickle cell patient eating this stuff, I would say, please just eat just normal things: protein, fruits, veggies. Stop thinking about having the pizzas and the cookies and all the other stuff. Anything that's processed, please don't. I mean, even if it is, I tell parents the easiest way to cook: bake up a bunch of chicken or turkey or whatever it is, roast a bunch of veggies, make sure you put a bunch of seasonings on that so everyone like it, and you eat off that versus trying to figure out what you
Hmm.
can have every night. And that's usually the issue. So, okay, I don't know what to cook tonight. Just cook the simple things. And then on the weekends, you can sort of play with the diet, but make at least Monday through Friday, make it where you eat as many good nutrients as possible. And then as far as like the
Exactly.
cost factor, I did a study with some years ago that showed that, if you ate healthy versus eating out, you're saving so much more money. And of course, you'll be more healthy. I'll tell patients all the time, I say, if you go to the store, it doesn't always have to be organic. I prefer organic, but if you don't have the budget, a bag of apples will
Mhm.
cost you, let's say, $3 to $4. A bag of oranges, just start with
Yeah,
just eating those as snacks. Cutting up cucumbers and tomatoes and have those as snacks. And so it's different things you can do to make sure you're going to be healthy as well, especially as a sickle cell patient. You got to think of ways to keep healthy.
exactly. And Aiden loves cucumbers. And when you were saying high fructose corn syrup, and then I was thinking about the food dyes because they love Talkies and Doritos and Cheetos. So you got the high fructose corn syrup
Yeah.
on top of the food dyes,
Yeah.
and they all kill the brain cells. It's one on top of the other, just one on top of
Exactly.
the other.
Exactly.
And it's just, yeah. And it's just sad seeing so many kids with ADHD.
Yeah. Yeah.
And all they gotta do is correct their diet. Just correct the diet, but then
Exactly.
but
Yeah.
then they'll go,
Yeah. I mean, I also coach my son, my kids, like sports teams, and it's crazy to see that a lot of these kids that, they running around, they're acting all crazy, and then my kids are sitting on a bench and they're like, well, that kid over there, like, yeah, because their brains like, okay, that's that, they're acting crazy. But a lot of these kids don't
right,
understand why they're acting this way. And then it's not until I
exactly.
actually, I'll get a few minutes patience. Like, I'm like, look, you got to cut all this about the diet. If you want to have candy, I can give you the proper candy to actually give them in small doses, but you got to make sure that you're not trying to live this on a kid to be normal. But again, what's normal right now? Kids getting sick. We don't want that. We want our kids to be extraordinary. So that's my purpose. I know that's Tamika's purpose as well, is to make our kids extraordinary. So
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
And the last thing, even Trader Joe's, I've seen M&Ms at Trader Joe's with in the other ingredients, it's like
yeah,
rhubarb,
yeah,
beets, turmeric.
yep,
That those M&Ms
yeah,
those
definitely.
M&Ms I buy. And
Oh,
I'm just like, I didn't even know that existed.
oh yeah,
So they're
definitely.
now making candy with turmeric and with beets and with rhubarb. And that's, those the candy that I give to my child. I mean, now they don't do it all the time, but whenever they want something, I'll go opt for that instead.
Exactly. And that's what we did as well. I mean, like my wife, when she jumps on something, she's like a pit bull. She won't let it go. So for about 10 plus years now, we've always looked for the alternative. Like, if we're gonna make a cake, we make a homemade cake. Okay, we gotta put frosting on. We're gonna buy the frosting. So we were like, okay, how are we gonna dye it? And we start finding these natural dyes that were from, indigo. Indigo is what color? Blue. It was like, okay, wow, wild indigo makes blue. Turmeric, is already yellow. I mean, or orange, and then it was all these
Yes.
natural colors. We're like, whoa, wait a minute. and we were able to start mixing
Oh, that's
our own
awesome.
things. And I was like, wow, this is phenomenal. And then as far as like sugars, we stopped using, like, of course, white sugar years ago. I would ask, at one point I was using agave, and then I found that most agave was actually still high fructose corn syrup that they were selling under the guise of being agave. I was like, oh my gosh, no wonder I was getting all those headaches when I was eating that. So I moved
Wow.
over to even just having like pure cane sugar or coconut sugar and things like that.
Yeah.
Or I would use date sugar, and date sugar is nothing more than dates that's been dehydrated and ground up, and because
Yep.
they're already so sweet. So it's about basically educating yourself. I mean, I make one of the
Yes.
best. I mean, I love baking pies. And when people taste my pies, they're like, "Wait a minute, this pie is all vegan." I'm like, "No, I didn't use any lard in the dough. I didn't. I mean, as a matter of fact, it's gluten free. It is, really sugar free as well because that's how I use the sugars, whatever." Like, man, how do you do that? I'm like, I learned how to take my time and bake, appropriately. So it's
Exactly. And
easy.
I even have monk fruit sugar.
And there
Monk
you go. Yeah,
fruit sugar.
yeah, yeah. And
It's
the beautiful
amazing.
thing,
So
yeah, the beautiful thing with these sugars, I'm sorry, I'm gonna cut you off, but the monk fruit sugar, the date sugar, the palm sugar, all that kind of stuff, they're high in fiber and a little bit of protein as well. So you still get nutrients inside of your system, even though you're eating a sweet potato pie or pumpkin pie or apple pie or whatever, cherry pie. You're like, wait a minute, I'm still getting nutrients. Yes, you still have a nutrient dense food because it's not taking anything away from you. So it's
isn't
awesome.
that amazing? Even
Exactly.
God made the sugar cane. The sugar
Exactly.
cane. Sugar cane is healthy.
Exactly. The whole shoot, exactly. The whole one is healthy, but they're strip it all down and dye it so it'd be all white and things of that sort. So it's just a way you actually use it, and even like the bread. The reason why the bread is so horrible is because they only use the germ of the bread, the sweetest part of it. That's the reason. If they use the whole grain, and I still don't use whole grain, I only use sprouted grain bread if I use any bread. But
Mhm.
if they use that, it'll be a better product. You know.
Exactly.
So.
Exactly. Yeah, this is so exciting. Just, learning. I tell people we can still eat the same thing. We just got to pick different ingredients to eat
Exactly.
the same exact thing.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly. So, but yeah, and tell us where can we pick up your book? Where can we pick the book up?
okay, so you can pick up my book. You can go to my website, which is www.ssnaturalhealing.com. And you can definitely order there, or it's on the ebook is on Amazon. I'm working on getting the actual book up there, but the ebook is on Amazon, or you can go to my website and purchase a copy.
Awesome, awesome. And if they want to get in contact with you, how do people get in contact with you as well?
Again, you can go to my website, www.ssnaturalhealing.com, and there I have all my social media platforms. So that's the best way to get in contact with me.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So, guys, that is about it for today. Is there anything else you want to say in closing, Tamika?
No, I just want people to, we are at a time right now where it's wakening up so many people.
Yes.
I know the world is at a state of emergency right now. All the brown and black people are suffering from coronavirus. It's
Mhm.
just time for us to come together as a community and really start to educate ourselves because this is the time is now. No better time than now. We're
Yeah.
losing so many people, and I really want people with sickle cell, non-sickle cell, diabetes, all of us.
Yeah.
Just we have to do this. No matter what disease you have, we
Mhm.
have to eat the proper food. We
Yeah.
have to put the proper nutrition, minerals, herbs into the body so we can heal. And I just urge everybody everywhere listening, it's time for us to get on board so we, along with our family members, can be healthy.
Yeah. Amen. Amen. And I just want to piggyback on that and say exactly. You know, it is something about our communities that I think we attach our eating habits to
Hmm.
different generations, and it's hard for us to realize that by eating healthy, we're not acting counterculture. Eating healthy is going to extend your generation, the best part of your generational lines. Very
Right.
very long. Knowing that from a genetic standpoint, that's one reason why I'm very very strict on how I eat. I want to make sure that the best of my genes are passed on to my kids and their kids and their kids.
Yes.
And all of these, inflammatory disease, all these metabolic diseases are not going to be passed on as well. And there's ways to do that. So, guys, I want you to understand that yes, it's a scary thing. I mean, when I first became completely, I'm gonna say, quote unquote, like natural and healthy, it was kind of scary. I'm like, I was traveling a whole lot. And I'm like, how can I actually eat? And I hate eating salads. So how can I really eat and still feel full and still feel as if I'm actually being satiated with food? And I just start to look at food a little bit different. So this is the reason why we're here. You can get in contact with Tamika. You can get in contact with us here at Healing Millions Global, and we'll help you on that journey, guys. So I'm glad you actually are able to join us, and thank you so much, Tamika, for joining me during this.
Thank you. Thank you so
So,
much.
and we got to hang out in Jamaica again. So hopefully, this year
That was fun.
I
Yeah.
actually, they contacted me, and if this thing didn't happen, we would be going back down there. So I'll talk to you about that later
Wow.
on.
That's okay. We'll go. We'll get there. Okay. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, no problem at all. Have a great day, and God bless.
Thank you. You too.
Bye.